Joe to Critical of the Simpsons.
Oh, hello there, my friends. How's it going there? Alright, let's get ready to talk about the Simpsons, and it's a fucking great show. I love talking about it every week. Fucking brilliant, mate. Alright. I'm sorry about that. Okay. I know I have at least one Scottish listener, maybe two. I hope that, fooled ya. It was a lot of fun for me. Okay. Hi, this is Joe. This is Joe's Too Critical of The Simpsons, the show in which I summarize the most recent episode of The Simpsons that has aired using silly voices that came from my amazing original, if you can call it original, I guess, series, The Simpsons, SIMPSUMS. You can see it on my YouTube channel. There's many links everywhere if you're watching this on SoundCloud. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can go to SoundCloud. Listening to this on YouTube, you can go to SoundCloud to download this file and listen to it while you're taking a bath or roasting the cat. You know, those everyday activities. Now, after I do the summary, which is like a little radio play with the funny voices, then I do some criticism of the episode. I do a lot of criticism of the episode, to be perfectly honest with you. And then I do a little wacky news about where the podcast's going and where my life's going. And generally the answer is down, baby. Down the toilet. The only one thing I want to say in this intro before we get going is there are now timestamps on YouTube, and I think I'll be able to do it on SoundCloud as well. I haven't tried it yet, but I think so. So there are timestamps now that divide up the sections. So if you hate my intros, fine. Then you can just skip ahead to the silly summary. If you hate my criticism, fuck you too, and you don't even have to listen to it. I've timestamps. Someone asked for timestamps, so now there are timestamps. All right, timestamps for all the different sections. Enjoy yourself. You're gonna have a great time. All right. Man, I'm sorry. Summary: the episode is called "Much Apu About Something," and it is episode 12 of season 27. It aired on January 17th, 2016. Here's the summary. We're at the Simpsons house with Homer and the kids. The kids and I are going to the Founders Day parade. Now we're at the Quickie Mart to pick up last-minute parade supplies. It is me, Apu, and also his brother Sanjay. We are here to remind you we both exist and work at the Quickie Mart. At the parade. It's me, Wiggum, riding in the parade with the rest of the cops in a damn tank like cops have these days in the United States. The volunteer fire department is stealing our thunder because people like them better. It's me, Krusty. I'm on the volunteer fire department. I make fun of you, Wiggum. I, Bart, will sneak onto the fire engine and pull a lever so water shoots Wiggum in the face. I'm the only one who sees him do it, I guess. Yeah, it angers. Wiggum turns the tank around to murder the fire department, ostensibly, and they shoot foam out under, like, the tank treads, and it sends the tank flying into the Quickie Mart. And then the roof falls in on Apu and his brother Sanjay, and oh my gosh. Bart, I saw you do it, and I even had a camera strapped to a hat on my head recording everything, so there's proof. I either turn this footage into the cops, or you promise to never prank again. I promise it. So Homer and Marge visit Apu in the hospital. Apu's brother Sanjay is also in the hospital. I'm Sanjay. That's enough of that. I'm done working at the Quickie Mart. I've given my share of the store to my son Jamshed. He'll rebuild the place while you're in the hospital. So then, 6 weeks later at the new Quickie Mart. Homer is in this scene, by the way, but kind of just to keep him tied to Apu's story for later plot purposes. He doesn't really do or say anything important here, though. It is me, Jamshed. I go by Jay now. I am a heavily Americanized gent. In fact, I am voiced by the hippest guy of all, Aziz Ansari. Zippity-woo! I have upgraded the place, so now it's called Quick and Fresh, and it's like healthy and organic and stuff. It's not okay with me. Well, too bad, because I own 80% of the Quickie Mart, because back in the day, you got addicted to scratch-off tickets and kept paying off your debts to my dad with ownership of the store. Oh, and I am still kind of addicted to scratch-off tickets, FYI, everyone. Milhouse approaches Bart outside of Superintendent Chalmers' house, which appears to be surrounded by quite a substantial concrete wall. Bart! Chalmers is behind this wall, bathing nude under a beehive with his fucking dick in the air. You should commence to prank. I cannot. I am retired from prank. And a little part of me is glad to not be a hellion. Oh, yeah? Milhouse and Bart go to the school where Skinner is up in a cherry picker in the back of a truck, Trying to untangle the flag on the school's front lawn. Willie was in the truck, but he fucks off.
Bart, all you have to do is smash the window with this brick and unlatch the brake, and then Skinner will roll off the edge of the Springfield Gorge, which is suddenly right at the end of the road here next to the school. Yeah, I'm saying murder Skinner. Wouldn't that be a good prank? That's me, crazy old murdering Millhouse. I will put the brick in front of the wheel, thus making Skinner safer than ever. You are now the infamous hellion of Springfield, Millhouse.
Then Millhouse picks up the brick and gets run over by the truck, whatever, doesn't matter. Homer and Marge are going out to have dinner with Apu to cheer him up.
Dad, as I'm good now, I got an A in a class.
Don't really care, go into dinner.
Oh, I feel bad he ignored. I'm Lisa. I know how you feel, Bart, because that usually happens to me, except in the Barthood episode from a few weeks back where it was all totally different. Now I understand why you feel bad all the time. Oh, thank you. Hey, let's go move our mouths without speaking in front of Grandpa to drive him nuts. Okay.
Then they go do that, and Grandpa thinks he can't hear, so he turns his hearing aid up, and they start shouting, which hurts his ears a lot, which seems to count as pranking to me, and goes against Bart's promise, but hey, whatever. Homer and Marge are at Luigi's eating dinner with Apu and his wife Manjula. Apu is a bit drunk. Jay, Aziz Ansari, sits down with some other people at a nearby table. I will go to confront. Oh, Aziz Ansari character, are you embarrassed by me?
Yeah, I am. You are a big stereotype.
How dare! I won't be a problem for you any more then. The next day at the Quick and Fresh, Mo is in there. Hey brah, I am using young people slang and not being a stereotype. Sort of like in that episode about immigrants that was really good from a long time back, remember?
What is going on here?
Oh, I lost my store and my identity, blah blah blah. 330 million gods and not one of them listens to me.
Hey, you are being super stereotypical Indian over here. You're fired, even though I love you. You're my uncle. Come to the bar, because that is where sad people go.
At the bar. Hey, let's help Apu get his store back.
Hey, Homer, why don't you ask your son, the infamous hellion, to pull a prank that will fuck Apu's store up again?
Well, I made him a good kid is the thing.
No, we should help Apu. He's good.
Yes, I am one of you now in this community. Okay, I'll fuck Bart up again. Homer comes into Bart's room in the middle of the night and wakes him up. Would you like to do pranks?
No, I am a good kid now. I don't even miss doing pranks.
Oh, okay, I made a mistake. I like the new you.
Nah, I'm the infamous hellion again.
Millhouse and Bart are outside the new Quickie Mart, I guess the next day.
All we do is open the power box back here and cut the power for 30 seconds. And because all the food is organic and there are no preservatives, it'll all go bad. Lisa is here. You shouldn't be hellion. Look in my eyes and tell me what you see. Sort of like in that old Thanksgiving episode where Lisa tells Bart to look deep down inside himself, except this one is shit. I see love in there. Yes, it is unconditional love. Oh, so I can do whatever and it's fine. Bart turns off the power. The whole place goes to shit and everyone runs out. Apu is suddenly just back in the store.
Oh, Aziz Ansari, you're another failed millennial. Who is a cliche now?
Now to erase signs of our pranking.
Bart turns the power back on. Inside the store, the conveyor belt turns on. There's a bag of massage stones on it. And the bag goes to the end of the conveyor belt and opens, and the stones fall in a trash bag at the end of the belt. I don't know why it's there. And Apu's vest is in there and from when he got fired, and it catches fire. And then the whole place goes up like gangbusters. And the volunteer fire department shows up.
Oh, we used up all our foam at that parade fight, whoops.
So then the whole place burns down. And Apu and Jay, Aziz Ansari, are sitting amongst the wreckage. Sorry, I was jealous.
Yeah, I was mean too.
Oh, one more scratch-off ticket here in the rubble. Apu scratches it off and it wins $1 million big bucks, guys. So then the Quickie Mart is back the way it was. Bart is outside spraying El Bardo on the side because he's, the infamous hellion again. Homer is inside the store. Oh, I have the store back and also a feeling like I belong, which was the important part. You can have this legendary jumbo golden squishy cup that I refill for free for you for life. Oh, and then Wiggum crashes the tank through the Quickie Mart again because he let Ralph drive. Ha 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 ha. Now for criticism. Well, alright. So, what to say of this episode? First of all, I will, as usual, get the good jokes out of the way. There were a few. Yeah, there's some. In general, I feel like most of the time the good jokes show up in the early sections of the episode before it gets real crappy. And probably the best one is when Homer and Marge visit Apu in the hospital. Marge says, "Are you okay?" And Homer says, "Marge, he's got 9 lives." And then Apu says, "I am a Hindu, sir, not a cat. I have infinite lives, during some of which I may be a cat. In those, I do have 9.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah.
I like them long-winded jokes where the person like thinks about what they're saying and keeps adding to it and making the joke funnier. Because it could have just ended at "I have infinite lives," and that would have already been a joke, sort of. But it got better. There's also the part I mentioned. Homer's in the scene, but he doesn't really do anything. Where Aziz Ansari and Apu are arguing, and Aziz Ansari's name is Jay. It's just always easier for me to, in the show it's Jay or Jamshed, but it's easier to just say it's Aziz Ansari. Yeah, they're arguing in front of Homer, and one of them says, maybe it's Apu. Apu says, "Can we move this discussion into the restroom?" And Homer goes, "You have a restroom?" And they both go, "No!" at the same time. It's like, 7-Eleven. They hide the bathroom from you, as a general rule. Other things that are just good. There were other good jokes. There was another good joke in the hospital scene. There's a few other good ones. The other thing is, plot-wise, first of all, I think I said last episode when Apu showed up, I was like, "Oh, it's Apu. I never see him anymore." Hey, they made an Apu episode. Apu. It's nice to just see an episode about a side character again, although this one was very rote. Very much about Apu kind of losing the Quickie Mart and the Simpsons kind of helping him out again, which feels like it's been done a few times and it's been done much better. I mean, they've at least done 2, the one about the immigration, the one with Apu being fired, and in both cases it's like Homer kind of is the one, well, yeah, the whole family kind of helps him out, right? It's also kind of their fault, and that's kind of why they help him out, which is something I'm going to come back to here. But plot-wise, kind of nice to see Apu, though it felt like he was slotted into his kind of standard story, and it was disappointing overall. Some stuff that, like, they seem like dumb things, but the thing, like, you have to remember, like, the thing about old Simpsons was, even when it's good, the broader plot points, the emotional stuff is hard-earned, I would always say. I would say the beauty of The Simpsons, and I mean, I guess this is sort of how sitcoms work in general, but The Simpsons especially, because it's so cartoonish and because it's so nutty at times, crazy things happen, and then you're meant to also actually sympathize with people. Like, I think I've brought this episode up before, but Homer Badman, or Badman, begins with Homer blowing up a whole convention center by mixing Pop Rocks with cola. And we know that scene's, like, not real. It's sort of a joke aside scene. And then later, we're asked to sympathize with Homer over being accused of sexual harassment. And I think I think that's what The Simpsons did before it, and when it was good. It juggled these things. It was outlandish and cartoonish, but there was a clear delineation. Again, something I don't even quite know how they pulled off, because unlike something like, for example, Rick and Morty, which is in a sci-fi, or Futurama, which it's in a sci-fi world, so all the rules are different anyway. This is, The Simpsons is the real world, but it's the real world where Homer can blow up a convention center at the beginning of the episode, and then go deal with sort of more real grounded issues. And that was kind of the magic of the show, and the magic of it being a cartoon, but also a sitcom, a real sitcom in the kind of classic tradition. Anyway, what I was saying about this episode, it has these plot movements that just to kind of get the plot part out of the way, and this episode, like so many modern episodes, fails on the emotional level. But to get the plot out of the way, like there really isn't anything in terms of the broad, sweeping, cartoonish plot stuff that doesn't work exactly. That all basically functions fine. And some of the things that I think are more clever than they might seem at first glance. The hot massage stones thing. The massage stones, when Bart turns on the power and they fall into this trash can and they burn the place up, that's kind of good. The only reason it's not good is I don't understand why there's a trash can at the end of the conveyor belt. But the reason that's fine is, you kind of know the Quickie Mart's somehow going to come back in its original form, because that's how this show works. Stuff generally resets. So the Quickie Mart's going to come back. So it's sort of just, if you do something clever and funny enough, we don't really care how that happens, as long as it's kind of amusing and clever. And, I mean, I guess we can believe in this like frou-frou version of the Quickie Mart that Aziz Ansari has made, that they might sell massage stones. And the notion that the massage stones falling onto Apu's old vest, recalling that moment he got fired, that's all very good. The way it ties into like Apu's actual vest is what burns down the place. Again, I don't know why there's a garbage pail sitting at the end of the conveyor belt. That's the only part. It's like, what? Why? But otherwise, cool. Also, right at the end, this is a funny joke and a funny plot idea. When Apu does the last scratch off ticket, he goes, "I don't have a penny," and then he looks around and like in the rubble, in the wreckage of the Quickie Mart, the take a penny, leave a penny tray is there, so he gets a penny from there, and that's that's a funny idea. That's a cool little. It's both a funny idea and like a fun extra little plot element. And also, one thing that I feel like you might be naturally skeptical of. The notion that Apu wins the scratch off and wins $1 million, maybe $1 million is a little much, but hey, with inflation these days, I don't know. But the notion that Apu wins the scratch off actually works fine. The concept of him being addicted to the scratch off in the past and then showing that he's still addicted to it. There's one part in the middle, he tries another scratch off. I mentioned he's still addicted. That's sort of the amazing thing about these kind of broad cartoonish plots that the Simpsons have always done. You can make winning the lottery seem plausible if you just set it up as a theme. That's the thing that I feel that's like really worth noting, because I think a lot of the time it feels like I'm just going, I just didn't believe this. It was too crazy. And it's like, you can be pretty fucking crazy. I sort of said this last time too. If you set up with like Itchy and Scratchy Land, if you set up that it's going to be like a Jurassic Park episode with this opening shot of the helicopter and blah, blah, fine. It's an action movie episode. I basically accept it. It's the same thing. You can make someone win the lottery if there's a theme of them always trying to win the scratch-off tickets, and if there's just, everything kind of has to tie together, and they're in dire straits enough, so it doesn't end, Apu won the lottery and he's rich now. It ends, Apu won the lottery, but he's just going to use it to rebuild his store, because his store's fallen down and he needs, If you make these things come together, you can get away with a lot of nonsense. In terms of bad stuff, Aziz, he's another guest star who was like, well, I don't care. Sorry. His character seems like, I get that Aziz Ansari is like a modern comedic figure who has a certain style and attitude, and I guess they tried to write him like that, but he kind of just sounds like they've written him dialogue from Juno. He's just saying things like douche skillet, and he says something like that. That's me combining a Juno line. He says he apologizes to Apu by saying he's being a douche nozzle, a douche something. I don't know what the word is. I think it's not normal. I've heard douche nozzle. I feel like it's a new comment. But like, he's just always saying crazy hip things, and that's like his character. I don't know. He doesn't make much of an impact. But again, this is one of those situations where it's like, it feels less like the actor's fault and more just like they, wrote a dumb character and here, come in and do these lines and bye. Thanks for being on this thing. I don't remember particularly hating too many jokes. I just didn't laugh that much for the most part, as usual. One I did hate, because it was just dumb. It's just out of nowhere. It's dumb. When Homer's like, oh, will you be the infamous Hellion again, to Bart? And then Bart's like, no, but then just changes his mind. Oh, yeah, I will. The way they show it is they like zoom in on Bart and he puts the Clockwork Orange eyelash over his eye. And, the synthy symphony music from Clockwork Orange plays. Is it Mozart? Sorry, I don't know Clockwork Orange as much as many people do. I have seen it. And then, so wait, it's already dumb. It's already just like, oh, out of nowhere, Clockwork Orange reference, Bart's become the infamous Hellion. I get it. Okay, yeah, it's that idea of returning to be a life of mischief and, chaos, which is how Clockwork Orange goes. But it's just, it's so hokey, and maybe in another era when The Simpsons looked slicker and they would do like cooler camera and stuff, but this is just a cheesy, like computery flash animation looking zoom in to Bart's face with the eyelash, and it's just like, oh, okay, haha. And plus, then they had a dumb joke to kind of like justify the usage where Homer goes, this is the exact line, I never should have bought that Clockwork Orange video for his 5th birthday. I thought it would help him tell time. So the joke of him thinking Clockwork Orange might help him tell time is sort of fine, but the phrase, I shouldn't have bought him that Clockwork Orange video, is super shitty. Because, for one, The Simpsons now live in our modern era, so Video, what does video mean? A VHS? What are you talking about? Nobody says I've sort of bought him that video. And second of all, like the way he's talking about it kind of implies Homer doesn't know what a Clockwork Orange is, and I don't know. I guess you can kind of say that's the joke of it, but it just seems I don't believe in that. I don't know. Homer, everybody knows what a Clockwork Orange is. That Clockwork Orange video. What? It just sounds dumb. And right after this, there's a really long non sequitur joke of Homer finding out about, I don't know, Homer has a conversation with Lisa through Bart's wall about her imaginary friend who has moved away. It's just a like time-filling joke. And they would have done stuff like that back in the day. They do long, silly non sequiturs. But it wasn't funny. It just wasn't funny. So it was like, it made, when you're not laughing, you start going, why is this scene in here? And you're like, oh, I guess it's a joke. I mean, it's a joke. It's not funny, though. So, but in terms of the overall issues of this episode, there's not a lot specific to say, I feel, about why it's not that great. It's also, again, like, not that bad. It just leaves you kind of, meh, doesn't matter. It's not like the last two where I can point to, hey, there was a weird sci-fi element like Teenage Mutant Milk or Lisa creating AI that has a mind of its own. There's no one element to point to really and go, this is the problem with this episode. It's just the greater issue of modern Simpsons being so hollow. And it's one of these episodes. There's been a lot of episodes this season, which I will say for people who, like the Simpsons, many of these episodes I feel like I wouldn't have done anyway, because so many of these are, in terms of modern Simpsons, they're passable. I've seen so much worse. They're just so unremarkable. They're just so normal by these season standards. In a way, it's like one of the better seasons they've had in a long time, but that means so little, that means next to nothing. The very sad thing about it is it's like, even when they kind of bring, I don't know if this is their A game was like the Halloween episode from this year, the Halloween of Horror. But, and even Bart Hood was closer to what I would call like an A game. This is the game, whatever game it is, that they usually bring. This is like, what? I don't know, Spyro the Dragon. It's fine. It's fine. Spyro the Dragon isn't that good. It's fine. Yes, this is the Spyro the Dragon they bring every week. Anyway, this is it. Like, this generally, when they rise above it, and I guess they have kind of twice, because I would say Halloween of Horror and Bart Hood are gooder episodes. Gooder. Even then, it's like, oh, okay, I can see some sparks of life, but it doesn't matter. But, like, normally this is the kind of episode I think you're going to get when it's not so horrible and it's not good. It's just this. And it's really sad, these kinds of episodes, because this is almost worse, because I'd almost prefer to go away from something angry. I generally say that. Middling is kind of the worst you can be. I feel like I can learn more, and I have more to say about things I hate, and obviously things I love, than I do about shit that just kind of coasts along in the middle. And that's all they do a lot of the time. And that's what's really sad about it. You sit here and you just go away, and I just sit there like quiet for most of the episode. I laugh occasionally, and then sometimes I genuinely have to sit there and go, am I enjoying this? Did I enjoy this? I don't know. And again, always though, when I do play these back and I'm writing down a summary and noting what goes on in these, I realize just how subpar they are. Because this is the thing. This is there any way this is ever going to be the right show again, the show as it was? I really don't see how it can be. Even the literally one episode I cite after like the good period, not counting sort of like right after it got bad, like season 9, 10 is where it's like starts going downhill. There's still enjoyable stuff in there. The city of New York versus Homer Simpson, notwithstanding, that's an actual good episode, maybe the last easy to point to as an actual good episode from the original classic era. But over the course of all these episodes that have just been endlessly bleh, as I've said, have only really point to one and say this is enjoyable. It's The Book Job. And even The Book Job is not the right show. It's not The Simpsons as we know it. It's a very different approach to the show. Much of the humor is similar to how The Simpsons handled humor, but plot-wise, I don't know. It's just an homage to heist movies. And it's just, in a way, The Simpsons kind of never, I don't think they would have ever dedicated a whole episode to an homage in such a way, unless maybe it was a Treehouse of Horror episode, but then, of course it's relegated to a section, but you know what I mean, like they would dedicate a whole episode to a Twilight Zone episode. They did that many times. But, within the canon of the show, it's still a weird episode. It's interesting, and again, it's one of those things where it feels like if you're gonna make good things with The Simpsons, most of the time all you can do is kind of revamp it, try something totally different. Although, as usual, I always feel like you're held back by the legacy of The Simpsons. If you're kind of locked into these characters, this world, this certain way things have to be, the fact that the family kind of has to be central to every episode, these kind of things. This is actually stuff I want to talk about when I compare it to South Park, so I'm not going to go too deeply into it. I do still plan to do that someday. But, when you're locked into The Simpsons, and if you're just trying to revamp this, like, outdated invention that was novel once, but there's no point in just, like, let's try to redo it. Just fucking abandon it. Like, that's really all there is to it. It's kind of the reason I quit The Simpsons. It's what... Oh, quit. I shouldn't say that. It might come back. The reason I don't like to do it, as I said, I want to just make my own thing, and I want to, like, subvert The Simpsons. But if you're tied down by The Simpsons, you can only go so far with, like, making something new. And that's how I feel for people who actually work on the show, too. You can only go so far before people, before you've kind of got to be tied to what the show is supposed to be, even though it still manages to ruin that feeling of what the show is supposed to be, even though it's absolutely trying to still be the show. Do you understand what I mean? Hope so. Because I'm not going to explain it any better than that. And the thing is this, people mention there being different eras even during the good period of The Simpsons, even during classic Simpsons. Like, I think generally it's considered seasons 2 through, 8 or 9. People say it goes through pretty big transitions for that. It's harder for me to notice that, honestly. I kind of just remember it as being a cartoonish show that also had pretty significant emotional moments. And also, I just haven't watched through the classic stuff in a long time. I used to watch it like crazy when it was on rerun and see so much of it over and over and over again. But, I'm sure people are right. I'm sure it does go through changes. It's not one of those shows that had one creator driving it the whole way, like... David Lynch, Twin Peaks was a show that did, many people helmed it from week to week to week, but it felt different when David Lynch was there. You could tell, oh, David Lynch is back. Community is a show that felt different when its creator left. The West Wing, I'd never seen, but apparently, Aaron Sorkin left, and you could tell the difference. It's not one of those shows. This is a standard comedy, a standard American comedy where the show is basically created by committee. It's rooms of writers. It's a different director probably almost every week. There's some people who are kind of the in-house director, but it changes. And, it overhauls completely. You get completely new people, completely new staff from season to season. So it is a show that kind of of course it went through like changes, transitions. It reformed itself a bit from time to time. I mean, it certainly got more bombastic as things went on. The 5th season, Homer went to space and had the barbershop quartet that rivaled the Beatles. And it definitely got, I know people mention it gets more self-aware, and it got more self-aware certainly. Like season 7 had Two Bad Neighbors, where, in reaction to George Bush kind of criticizing The Simpsons, he was just on the show and Homer fought with him. It had 22 short films about Springfield, which is like, it's like an episode that structurally goes... Yeah, we've done the same thing many times. Like, let's just do a show about how vast our world has become. That feels kind of self-aware to me. And then, as you go on, like season 8 was kind of the culmination of it all. And before it started to go shitty, it has the Simpsons spin-off showcase. And of course, the Itchy and Scratchy and Poochie episode, which is really fucking good. But it's completely, it was like the Simpsons kind of stopping their nerdy critics before they could really like get the better of them by just going, oh yeah, well, suck on this. Being so aware of its own like cultural significance and how people treated it, because that was when there were people on like BBS forums nerding out about it like I'm doing now and criticizing it to hell, even though it was still really good. And Homer's Enemy is in there with Frank Grimes, and that's a extremely self-aware episode, which basically goes with the idea of what if a normal person came to the Simpsons world, he dies. I would even argue like Who Shot Mr. Burns is a pretty self-aware episode, because Who Shot Mr. Burns is an episode that again just feels like it's aware of the Simpsons cultural significance, and it's fucking great. It's a wonderful episode, both of them, the two-parter. But regardless, it may have gone through these changes. You people are welcome to tell me what they think about the overall, the different eras of classic Simpsons. But if you ask me, there's still a lot of emotion in a lot of those episodes, maybe, you'd get the occasional episode that was just kind of a goof, like Homer's Enemy. You don't get attached to Frank Grimes. You're a little shocked that they kill him, but there's nothing emotional episode. That's a purely like self-aware comedy episode. But every season, like even season 8, all the way up to season 8 ends with the secret war of Lisa Simpson, which is an episode completely about Bart and Lisa bonding. And it's got Bart saying, "I believe in you" to Lisa. It's got these huge emotional moments. Season 7 has the Apu getting deported one, the immigration one. It has Bart sells his soul. And has Mother fucking Simpson, the one with Homer's mom, where he just sits on the car at the end and watches the stars. And it's the saddest thing in the entire series, probably. If I just think about that scene, I kind of get some chills because it was such a beautiful moment. So what I'm saying is, I don't, maybe the show did go through these changes, but it was still really beautiful at times, and I don't think it ever really lost that. I think occasionally it did have episodes you're like, that was just a funny one, and fine, why not? When you have 22 fucking episodes a season, why not? But now, the problem is the characters are broad stroke versions of themselves at best. They're all Flanderized, which this show invented the term, obviously. But they're all Flanderized to heck and worse. They're just completely. I've talked about this with somebody once in a comment thread. The thing that's weird, and this is my theory. I don't know how right this, but this is what I think I'm seeing. Flanderization is when the core tenets, the core character features of a character are just ballooned and take over what that character is. And it was Flanderization because Flanders just became kind of this over just you want a character to go like, nah, that's not what Jesus would say, like fucking Flanders, roll Flanders in. Again, to mention from last week, what somebody said, if you want somebody to be gay, bring in Smithers to do a gay joke. You just bring out these traits of them, and that's all they're there for. They're just these hollow shells with these bigger traits that have just been turned up to 11. That's Flanderization. But to me, the thing also that comes as a byproduct, I think this is true, the thing that's even worse about that is you could, if that's all, for example, Flanders was, if Flanders was just kind of become a religious zealot, you could still say, well, that's Flanders. He's just being done badly. But what seems to happen instead, and this is mostly for the core family because they're the ones we spend the most time with, they go, okay, well, the Flanderization of Homer is super dumb and pretty fucking self-centered, right? And these are the things that have been turned way up. Actually, sorry, it'll be easier for me to say with Marge. Marge is a lame mom. She's kind of corny, and she's put upon. She's like the long-suffering matriarch of the household, right? But now, because that's all there is to her, because there's only these few traits, and admittedly sometimes they just forget some of that shit too. She often does not remember to be a corny mom. But because those traits are only there, they fill in the hollow parts with whatever the fuck they want for that particular episode. I always mention this episode, which I don't remember what season. It's a much earlier season than it should be. It's a Mad Marge. That's an episode where Marge goes so fucking nuts she breaks a giant glass ice cream cone and swings it at a woman to murder her. Marge is not that fucking crazy. It's just not, and it's just like, well, we need her to go crazy for this episode. Or, as I've said in a few of the past episodes, we need her to be stupid. Oh, her kids are drinking hormone milk that's making them grow mustache and pimples. And she'll just kind of write it off until later in the episode when we want her to address it. It's that kind of thing. We'll just make Marge less attentive to her kids if she needs to be. We'll make her crazier. We'll make her... I remember reading a review where they said Marge does something completely out of character. There's one she climbs into someone's window. I don't remember because she goes, I don't remember what the reason is. I'm sorry. But she climbs into a window going like, I don't want to cook tonight. I don't know what it is. She wants to steal something from somebody's house. But at any rate, it's got Marge climbing in the window and she's the one who does it. She's the one who acts on a whim and climbs into some random house. I don't know. Sorry. But as you can tell, it's not a Marge thing. To climb into someone's window, to break and enter. That's what I think the issue is. It's Flanderization filled in with whatever works for the plot. A few main traits that are amplifications of what we used to know about the characters, and then just whatever the fuck they want. Just fill it in, which often ruins the other things we used to know about the characters. Those more subtle aspects of the characters are then ruined by that, which is why, again, Mr. Burns can become a superhero in an episode, which... you've just fucking ruined Mr. Burns, This is what the big problem is with this episode, and it's not unique to this episode. It's just that everybody is so hollow and so there to drive the plot. Bart, he destroys the Quickie Mart and injures Apu, puts him in the hospital. But he doesn't feel bad about it. He apparently just feels worried about getting in trouble for it because Homer has footage of it. Bart's not completely evil, you know? And there's just no talk of this. There's no mention of him struggling with... There's no indication that the reason he quits pranking is because he feels bad for Apu. He just doesn't want to get in trouble. And it works for this shitty plot. It works on the broader cartoonish level for Bart to not want to stop pranking and to, you know... In terms of if you're just showing me plot devices and going, this is why Bart stops pranking, fine. Technically, yes, but it does not work on a character level because this is not the person Bart should be. And this is not what the show should be. The pranking shit, there should be so much deeper. There should be Bart wrestling more with the idea of what he did. It's just a switch in this. It's just a fucking switch. He just goes, all right, I won't prank because he's been blackmailed. And then when Milhouse tries to get him to prank, and again, Milhouse for some reason says, hey, do this prank, which is literally murder. Yeah, that's Milhouse for you. Then it's just him going, you know what, I don't want to prank anymore. Like, why? Right? If he actually showed remorse about hurting Apu, that'd be something real, but there's no indication. There's no indication that he gives a flying fuck about Apu. They seem to go pretty far to make him not appear in scenes with Apu. They just make this becomes Homer and Marge's problem to cheer Apu up, which works technically fine for them, but not, I mean, because I guess, again, they can feel guilty because they know their son did it, or at least Homer does. It's unclear if he told anybody. They know their son did it, but like, like, again, this is stuff that needs to be established more because, again, you can do broad cartoon things, but on the character level, you have to make me believe it because that's the important part. That is the center of the show. That is the core of the show. And I don't, you know, why do Homer and Marge care? It seems even less to me like they care because their son is the one that did it. It seems to me like that part gets brushed away. The fact that Bart did something so terrible at the beginning, that doesn't matter. It feels like that is just like, meh, that was just a catalyst to start these two other plots. We don't even really remember that Bart is terribly at fault for what happened in the conflict, the horrible thing that happened this episode. It doesn't seem to really matter, except to come back later and, hey, your son's good at pranks, isn't he? So stupid. But it seems more to me like the reason Homer and Marge are the ones comforting Apu and visiting in the hospital and stuff is just because they've done it in previous episodes. And that's that thing of, you've seen this before, right? Which is, you can get away with some of that, but it's sort of lazy fucking writing. When you've got a show that's based, Simpsons is kind of, it's from a very old style of sitcom where shows are much more concerned with being self-contained. There's a lot more continuity in our sitcoms these days. There's more of a plot thread going through. You're more expected to have watched everything up until the point you're coming in on the episode. The Simpsons is from that old era of, I sure use the word era a lot, guys. It's from that time where every episode is supposed to reset. You are learning some things about people from episode to episode, but you're sort of supposed to be able to jump in at any time, which I know there's such a cultural phenomenon that they don't really have to worry about that. But in terms of just providing a compact, well-told, funny story, Homer and Marge are just the ones in charge of cheering up Apu. They're just always there now in every scene, or at least Homer. It's just there, and they've I think they're just coasting on the idea that this has happened in the past. So you're used to it. But anyway, so like it's everybody's kind of just where they need to be in the plot in a very hollow fashion just to move the plot along. But I don't believe in their character relationships. You know, nothing's making me feel anything too. That's the issue too. If I felt something, I wouldn't be complaining. You know, I wouldn't even have noticed, hey, that didn't work because I felt bad for Lisa or I felt bad for Bart, you know? Something like that. Or Apu, obviously. But it's I don't feel a goddamn thing. So obviously something didn't work. Because as I said, the better episodes of the season, Barthood and probably more so Halloween of Horror, even with their problems, I felt something for like Lisa and Homer in the Halloween of Horror episode. I felt their connection as father and daughter, and it was, you know, it was sad, it was sweet. This is nothing here. The funny thing is, one of the only times Bart feels correct is anytime I see Bart and Lisa acting like mischievous little kids. The show remembers, oh, they're kids and they used to kind of mess around together, even though Lisa's like the good kid. They used to fuck around with like Grandpa and stuff. It's the part where they fuck around with Grandpa and make him turn up his hearing aid and hurt his ears and stuff. That sort of work. It's a little more mean than funny, but that could have That's something that doesn't seem out of place. But the funny thing is, it does seem out of place in this particular plot because it seems like Bart just pranked someone. Like, it seems to count to me as him going back on his promise a little bit. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a stickler, but funnily enough, that's like one of the only character moments I was like, oh, okay, but not a plot moment. It doesn't work for this plot. They do, regarding the emotional stuff, they do try to throw Lisa in there and add the connection of, oh, well, now that Bart's a good kid, he understands how Lisa feels, being overlooked as the usual good kid, and they have that moment, look in my eyes and tell me what you see, and he sees love in her eyes. Okay, it's like too little too late though. That did not get enough attention to be a real plot. And Bart doesn't give a shit. Like, no, we don't give a shit. It rings false because that plot has not been developed. We've only seen them connecting once earlier in the episode. Who cares? And stuff, again, cartoonish plot. The Simpsons being cartoonish but grounded in the real world on some level. That fails at very much so at the part where Moe suggests, "Hey, your kid is a bad kid. Why don't we get him to do another prank that burns down the Quickie Mart?" I guess because we're saying he's the one who was at fault for doing it the first time, kind of. I mean, he was involved. And also, nobody knows that. Nobody knows that Bart's the one who burned down the Quickie Mart the first time, except Homer. So it works in the sense of if Bart burned down the Quickie Mart the first time, he can obviously do it again, but nobody knows that. And it's just stupid. It's like, I guess it's the idea of he's not going to get in trouble, he's just a kid, whatever. But the idea of, like, this is the Flanderization at its worst, because it's the idea of somebody actually just going, hey, isn't Bart's main character trait that he's a prankster? Let's use that trait to destroy a building. Like, I don't know, Bart shouldn't be seen as, like, a force of nature that you just enact on things. Like, there must be another solution besides, hey, what if Bart commits a prank? Maybe that'll get us out of this conflict. It's too dumb. And I guess the only thing I'll say too is you would assume that this episode's supposed to be mostly about Apu's emotions, but it's not an emotional episode at all. And it seems like there's something there with Apu being a stereotype, but also to an extent it seems like Aziz Ansari's character just plain doesn't want him to talk about Indian stuff, like the heritage of his country. He just kind of wants to quiet that all down and make him Americanized a bit, which again seems very much like the immigration episode. But this could have been a deeper, more emotional episode if they fleshed out Aziz's character and if they made Apu and him have to come to terms with this idea. Like, you can say, yes, Apu's a bit of a stereotype, but he's also maybe, you could bring out this idea that he's maybe also more true to his roots. And there could be something about the acceptance of both sides. He can accept understanding Aziz seeing him as a stereotype, but Aziz can accept that he's maybe just from the old world, Something like that. Instead, it's just the scene of the building burns down and sorry I was a douche squiggle or whatever, and they just kind of apologize to each other. There's nobody has to accept anybody on a character level. It's just, the Quickie Mart burned down, we better move on and end this episode, So there's no character stuff. That's what it is. And I don't think this is atypical. I think this is normal. I think this is the problem this is one of the major problems with the show. Of course, there's other stuff that I personally I write. I'm more a writer than I suck at visual analysis. But yes, of course, like there's other stuff too. When I say, is this show never going to be the right show again for various reasons? Of course, another one is the animation, the look of it. There's no care put into it as a general rule. Halloween of Horror, again, was an episode they tried a little harder. They made it look cinematic. It still looked weird because The Simpsons, I forget if I've talked about this before, but I've talked about this with a few people. They try to over-detail everything now, both like new characters or guest characters, as well as like if you just pick a shot. My friend showed me this shot from Halloween of Horror, actually, of just how Homer looking across the street, and you can just see like inside the house across the street. There's multiple shading on the bushes in front of the house. You can just see all these different objects through the windows. Like, they just flesh everything out because they have the technology. But The Simpsons wasn't like that before. The Simpsons was kind of sloppy. But that was what was pretty about it. And you fill in the details in your mind. You make it real. And that's why new shit looks so weird in The Simpsons. When they bring new characters in, they often just go, let's try to make them look as much like the person who's doing the voice. Or they just, in general, the designs have just gotten less stylized. They don't fit the style. They're just, let's make this the highest quality we can with computers. And so that shit's not gonna be in there. Most of the time, the cinematic camera angles are not in there, which there really were a lot of weird, interesting cinematic angles in the classic series. So, I mean, it's all this kind of stuff. I can accept young people, youngsters, watching episodes like this. This is another sad thing to me, because I can accept people watching this and going, oh, it seems fine. Both like animation wise and plot wise. They're like, it's fine. It's like Family Guy or something. It's just fine. I can see that. I can understand that, because it's not really batting any higher than your average like animated show. Broad cartoonish stuff that basically works. It's just that if you don't know The Simpsons, you don't know this used to operate on a deeper level. It used to be emotional. It used to be, and a lot funnier. It's shit for people who are aware of what it used to be. But if you just came to this show now, I could see you just being like, seems alright. And I think that's fine. I think it's fine when a show is amazing, you hold it to a higher standard. I mean, I'm not as critical of things like Bob's Burgers or Rick and Morty. Bob's Burgers, by the way, is a better show. I mean, both of those are better shows at this point. I'm not happy those things, like that the way animation looks, for example, just to pick one aspect, it's all computery now. Everything kind of looks like a sort of flashy flash animation. But at least it started that way, and I accept it more. The Simpsons is not what it used to be. Just using animation as one example, but writing's obviously an issue too, that I just talked about a whole lot. But yeah, it's, I hold it to a higher standard. And in general, and again, just fucking end it. It should just be over. It should be over. And I mean, that's the thing. Usually, the sad part is too, there's just no point in watching The Simpsons, I say, as I watch it every week and talk about it for an hour. If you're looking for good animated comedy, or good comedy in general especially, there is no shortage of good comedy. Good animated comedy, Rick and Morty, although I thought season 2 was not as good by some distance. Bob's Burgers, the episode that aired, by the way, the same night as this was fucking great. It was really funny. I laughed quite a lot, and it was a lot more emotional. It worked. The sitcom stuff worked. It had so much more planting of elements early on and paying those elements off. It was a lot better. I'd say even like Steven Universe and Adventure Time are usually funnier than The Simpsons. And even Adventure Time's kind of long in the tooth now. And they're certainly more emotional. Steven Universe is a very sad show. I just watched the new Mike Tyson Mysteries. Do you know this show on Adult Swim? Mike Tyson Mysteries is a lot funnier than The Simpsons usually. It's a lot better. That show kind of shits on plot structure deliberately, but it's fucking funny. That's it. By the way, that's it. I'm going to close this out by saying, when I mentioned Milhouse saying Chalmers has his fucking dick in the air, that's because it's a joke in the episode. He goes, he's sunbathing nude. And then you hear from behind the wall, Chalmers says, like, now to raise my manhood to the sky. Something like that. Yeah, his dick's in the air. Pretty funny. They could have dropped a beehive on his wiener. So I give this fucking thing a rating of, hey, it's another one of these. Out of, hey, it's another one of these. I don't like it. Cool news! Very quickly for the news. First off, thanks for not getting on my case about me saying, hey, I'm just not going to do the screen grabs anymore. I ramble so long on these things. It's nuts to me you'd even look at the video a little bit. It's audio. It makes sense as an audio thing, I think. Forget it, right? Let's just do this. But yeah, nobody really bothered me about it. Everybody said it's fine. It's long. You should just be listening to it like a podcast. Glad to hear it. One day in the year 2032... a special Simpsons is coming. It's going to be animated. It's going to be a hologram that is going to be projected on Miley Cyrus's baby's pregnant stomach over Times Square. Please look forward to that now. No, that's going to be the real Simpsons. I don't know where the Simpsons will be. It'll be at a nearby theater. It'll be in an off-Broadway theater. Oh. Only other thing, too, Josh James, gentleman who's talked to me a lot on the web, he informed me that Matt Groening's got a new show in the works for Netflix. I don't think it's finalized. I think the article implied to me that it was more just like, maybe he's going to do it, maybe he won't. He's in talks. I am not a big fan. I honestly, Netflix original series, I do not have one original show they've made that I can say without any caveats, oh, I really like it. I think the best one I've watched has been Jessica Jones, and I'm fine with Jessica Jones. I don't love it. I have not finished it. It's fine. I know everybody's going to say, what about BoJack Horseman? Don't like it. Tried. I think I watched 4 of them. I really hated it, and then I started to appreciate it more, but not that much, and then I just realized one day, oh, I'm not watching this anymore. I seem to have forgotten to keep watching this. Sorry. Don't really care for it. But anyway, Groening's new show, who knows what it's going to be if he does it. I'm not that upset. I mean, aside from the fact that I don't know why, but it shouldn't be a big deal that it's on Netflix, but Netflix has just not made me happy yet. But I'm okay with the idea of Groening starting a new show, because Futurama was good when it started, right? So, could be pretty all right. I just threw out the idea that maybe he wanted to finally do a Life in Hell animated series. He sure loves that. I never really, I don't know. I never tried too hard to read the comics. I think I only looked at them when I was really young, and I was like, I don't get it. This isn't like The Simpsons. So who knows? Whatever. Just thought I'd mention it. And then the other thing is, there's no new episode of The Simpsons until Valentine's Day. I don't think I'm probably going to do a podcast until then, because I've said it every time, I'm working on another video. I haven't really been able to do it. I want to do it. If I don't get it done in between now and that new episode of Valentine's Day, I'm going to be pretty fucking mad at myself. So whatever. I'm going to work on that. And then, new podcast after the new one, Valentine's Day. And then there's another big gap before the next new one. I don't know. We'll see if I think that's a good time to do the South Park discussion, whatever. In general, the idea is to, when it's summertime, do these occasionally. In between breaks while it's the season's still going, though, I'm kind of thinking I'm going to devote time to other stuff. So, but we'll see. We'll see. I think that's all. Thanks so much. Oh, wow, it's really great. Had a cracking time. Brilliant. I'm sorry. I love you. Fuck off, Ali.